When you think of a premium NATO strap, I'm sure many of you guys will think of Omega because they have some of their watches which you can buy on their NATOs, and they also sell their NATOs separately. But there are two issues. One issue is that it's an Omega branded strap, which may be a little bit weird if you pair it with another watch brand. And the second issue, of course, is the price. Omega NATOs go, well, they sell for 200 to 300 US dollars. So today what I have here with me are Artem's new range of NATO straps. So if you guys are not familiar with Artem, they are very famously known recently for their sailcloth straps, their awesome quality sailcloth straps. So I want to thank Artem for sending these NATOs into the channel for me to review. And I have an OEM Omega NATO strap here to compare with the Artems. So what I want to do today is I want to point out the differences and the similarities between the Omega OEM strap and the newly released Artem NATO straps, and you guys can draw your conclusions on whether it's worth picking up the Artems. So firstly, off the bat, I want to say that this costs $200 to $300, and the Artems they cost just over 60 US dollars. So I understand that is in no way cheap for a NATO strap, and Artem they do not make products to be priced at a low price. If you look at their sailcloth straps, they price it at a price point which they feel the quality can speak for itself. So let's see whether you agree with me that these NATO straps are worth that 60 US dollars or so, and then you can make your decision on whether you want to pick one of these up. So first, let's look at the colorways. So of course, the first one we have here is the most comparable to the Omega one. This is the Bond colorway, very famous for NATO straps. We have a blue with red and gray centerline, an orange centerline down a black strap, and finally we have this NTTD. I guess this is the paying homage to the No Time to Die version of the Seamaster 300. So I believe this is the best looking one, but of course it depends on the watch that you're pairing it with. So over here I have it paired with the Zelos Mako in titanium. This is the teal variant, and I think it really matches the watch. So let me first start off with the differences. So for the Omega strap, we have a material which feels smooth to the touch and is pretty soft. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'll leave it to you to decide. But the Artem straps, they are equally smooth, and in terms of the softness, they are slightly thicker than the Omegas. But I have been wearing this watch with this strap on my wrist for almost a week now, and I think that they are equally comfortable. I've tried this on with another watch for 2 days. I don't really see the difference on wrist, but when you compare them side by side, I guess the Omega feels slightly thinner than the Artems. Is that a good thing? I'll leave it up to you to decide. This is more sturdy. This is more flimsy but softer. The difference is very minimal though. I don't think that you can notice it unless someone asks you specifically to point it out. So in the other parts of the material which I want to compare is of course how it looks. So if you look at the stitching and the way it's woven, I don't think you can really discern any difference here. It is both of them are very similar. The edges are also very nicely sewn in, so to speak. There's a nice pattern that goes down which is identical to the one found on the OEM Omega NATO. So in terms of colors, the OEM has a slightly darker gray lines, and the Artem has a lighter shade of gray for the center line. All right. Stitching is pretty much the same. I guess Omega has more stitches here. Or is it just... No, it's not more. It's just... Artem has tighter stitching, so you can't really see the stitches, whereas Omega has more raised stitching. Alright? This is a huge difference which I want to point out. If you look at the Omega keeper on the... This is the security keeper. This metal piece... when I was wearing my watch with this strap, I found that this metal piece tend to dig into my wrist. And I'm not sure why Omega went with this design, because it did get irritating after my wrist expanded throughout the day, and it did dig into my flesh. So what Artem has done is that they have material wrapping around the keeper here. So I didn't experience the same issue that I did with the Omega one. And I'm glad to say that this is actually an improvement over the Omega OEM design, because it's more comfortable, it does not press against your skin, and it does not cause that discomfort. So now let's look at the engravings. So first, let's take a look at the Omega one. So for the Omega buckle, it has the Omega logo here, which is raised. And over here, we have an Omega, where is that? All right, I can't, it's a bit difficult to navigate through the camera, yeah? So over here, we have an Omega branding, but it is not really engraved, so to speak. I can't really feel the difference in terms of the depth of the words. So I'm not sure how they did this, but it's not a deep engraving. For Artem, they have their logo engraved here. The engraving is pretty deep, both on the buckle as well as on the keeper. So you can actually feel the depth of the engraving for the Artem straps. I don't think one is better than the other. I think that's just more of a design choice and a preference issue, which shouldn't be a big thing for anyone considering the straps. So what else in terms of differences? I'm hard pressed to find any more. I think one more difference is probably the length. Let me get rid of these here. So the Omega straps are very slightly longer than the Artem ones. I think it's about half a centimeter longer than the Artem straps. So I will put down the link to the Artem website and also the exact length of the Artem straps. So Artem, you know, the way they do things is that they don't rush into producing a huge variety of sizes, of designs, because they want to make sure they get things right. So now they have only 20mm wide NATO straps for purchase. So when I say that, what I mean is that your watch, the lug to lug, has to be a width of 20mm for you to pair your watch to these straps produced by Artem. And I believe they will come up with different sizes in the future, because there's a drop down bar, and I guess, you know, they really want to make sure they come out with a quality product before mass producing it in 20 colors and 3 different sizes. Yeah. So other than that, what differences? I believe that's all. You know, that's all the differences I can find when I'm comparing the OEM Omega NATO to these new Artem straps. So in terms of similarities, like I mentioned, the stitching is very similar. Even the way they protect the edges, the stitching over here is almost exactly like the Omega one. The ends are heat sealed for the Omega. They are also heat sealed for the Artems. Even the shape is similar, if not identical. The holes are very nicely laser cut, which is exactly the same as the OEM Omega NATO straps. What else is similar? Of course, the layout is similar. The layout of the buckles, I mean, that's a typical NATO style layout. And even the buckle over here shares the same kind of dimensions, the same kind of shape, and the same kind of design. So almost identical as well. So both the OEM Omega NATO straps come with a fully polished buckle and fully polished keepers, same as the Artem over here. All right. So in conclusion, I would say that these Artem NATO straps, they are really worth the money if you're willing to pay 60 odd US dollars for a NATO strap. What you're getting is a high quality NATO. You know, you can pick up so-called seatbelt style NATO straps off AliExpress for $10. But what I found with those cheaper seatbelt NATO straps, so to speak, is that they are very thick in order to have that sort of a seatbelt material, and they are not comfortable on wrist. So I believe that this is worth the money if you're gonna pair it with a decent watch. If you have a watch that costs like $100 or so, it may not be worth spending $60 for a strap. But if you have a nice watch, which runs between a couple of $100 to a few $1,000s, then Artems are really one of the best alternatives you can consider, especially if you have an Omega timepiece and you don't want to shell out the few $100 price tag for the original OEM Omega NATO straps. Of course, branding is something that we can't get around. If you really have to have the Omega word on your NATO straps, then you have to go the OEM route. But if you don't mind considering an aftermarket strap, which has quality, I would say at 90% similar to the Omega one, and even so, the 10% difference that I pointed out is not a 10% worse or 10% better than the Omega strap. Like for example, when I mentioned about the thickness, I wouldn't say that it's a disadvantage. It's just a different sort of feel to the Omega NATO strap. And I have to concentrate now because I'm trying to do this on camera. All right. So I just wanted to give you guys a wrist shot as well. No video would be complete without a wrist shot, right? So like I mentioned, let me take my cloth. All right. The quality, the differences between this strap and the OEM Omega NATO strap is not a matter of which is better or which is worse, but it's just a matter of which you prefer. So this, like I mentioned, is a slightly thicker strap, and I have no issues with comfort whatsoever. Like I mentioned, if you buy cheap $10 seatbelt style NATOs, they can do the job, but of course they will be very thick and bulky. When you're talking about NATOs, you are concerned. A lot of people are concerned with how it looks, whether it's neat or not. So I believe this is a very neat look. It is soft enough to contour to your wrist, but not too soft that it feels flimsy. So I hope you guys enjoy the way it looks on my Zelos Mako Titanium. And I hope you guys will think about it, and if you really want to find an alternative to the Omega OEM NATO straps, I don't think there's an aftermarket manufacturer who can compete with Artem at the moment. So guys, let me know what you think about these Artem straps. If you want one, the link is in the description to their website. You can look at all these colors that I've shown. Yeah, currently these are the colors that they have for you to pick up, to pair with your watch. I believe this should cover maybe 70-80% of the colorways out there, the usual colors, yeah? And hopefully Artem will come up with more colorways in the future and more sizes so that more people can enjoy what a quality strap this is. I really mean it, and I think that the Omega straps, while they are branded Omega, they are not worth 3-4 times the price of these Artems. And these Artems, while they are not cheap, they are definitely worth the $60 or so US that they sell for. So thank you guys for watching. Stay safe and stay healthy. I hope you guys have a great time and enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week. Bye.